All right, now I'm ready, team. So, greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be for you. My name's Clyde Tabor, and I am with the Visual Story Network. You are in the 5 Principles of Community Building in Virtual Reality live event hosted by the Visual Story Network. We're very glad that you are here. Again, my name's Clyde Tabor. You can find out more about me and stay in touch with me if that is of interest to you by going to visualstory.org/connect. We are this loose-knit tribe of about 2,900 people around the world, reaching and discipling the nations through media and story and innovation. You're welcome to create a profile, meet others if you go to visualstory.org. We do a couple of things. The reason we exist and the reason that the way we try to kind of foster reaching the nations is we train leaders through events at our Mission Media University. We lead innovative networks focused on women, mobile, augmented reality, virtual reality, so Middle East Women's Leadership, Mobile Ministry Forum, our Mission ARVR network, which you're now participating in. And then we produce media, curricula, and resources. So I'm excited that a lot of you are friends here. It's nice to meet a few new friends. We're hosting today's webinar because the world is obviously constantly changing. New technologies are developed. And the ARVR kind of revolution, which is still very nascent, is yet to really break out, but it will in the next 3, 5, 8 years. And it's our heart to foster a movement of innovation using these technologies for the sake of the kingdom. So we typically start kind of in a highly relational way. You're going to get to meet others in this meeting because we really believe we're better together than we are alone. And we want you to get to know others and we want you to be known. Since we launched with all these different things I just mentioned 10 years ago, we've seen over 200 different collaborative products and partnerships and projects emerge. So where we're going to go here in our short time together is we're going to hear from DJ Soto. I'll introduce him in a moment. He's going to give us 5 principles about community building in the virtual reality space of about 10 or 15 minutes for Q&A. And we're going to save like 10 to 12 minutes to give everybody a chance to do a very quick shout out. Who you are, where you are, and what's your area of interest in this augmented reality, virtual reality space, and then we'll end up with some announcements. So here is DJ. DJ is a pastor, but he's also an apostle in the sense that he's leaning into the future. He owns Sonata 7 Studios. It's a film production, a virtual reality company. He's worked as an educator in music and technology in schools. He spent 7 years as a photojournalist in broadcast television. He's pioneered a multi-site campus for a large church in Pennsylvania. Then a couple years ago, he launched out and went way outside the box and is a total innovator, just kind of serving and helping and advocating and catalyzing the church by the launch of live church events in virtual reality. So you're going to hear about Pastor DJ. He leads live church services in virtual reality. And I think, DJ, I think that's all I've got. After that, we'll maybe come back. But again, let me just say, I forgot to mention this. So if you want to hashtag theirs or tweet, there's the hashtag, the executive summary, and I'll re-announce this at the end. Visualstory.org/ARVR principles will be where you'll find that. And then there's a Mission ARVR Facebook group. Anyway, some other stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to you, DJ. So, brother, I will stop sharing and you can begin when you're ready.
All right. Hey, Clyde, thanks so much for having me. I'm really just honored to be here to meet everyone from all across the world. And I'm excited about sharing my story about Virtual Reality Church. And, just kind of right off the bat, I think it's amazing that, Clyde, you set this up and people are interested because, as technology comes in, sometimes we don't see the potential. I mean, you think of like the automobile. Who could imagine a Tesla or the first airplane? Or I think back in the early 80s, a Microsoft executive said, we don't need more than 127 kilobytes. Now I've got 32 gigabytes just hanging here on my phone. So it's hard to, when a technology comes out, it's hard to imagine the potential of it. So it's exciting to see people getting in just to learn about it because there is great potential for VR. It's in its infancy, it's just starting out, but there's some great potential that's going to come, like you said, Clyde, 3, 5, 10 years from now, what's it going to be? Right now, let me reach over here and grab the Oculus Go that just came out. It seems kind of bulky, and but one day you're just going to put on a pair of glasses or a pair of contacts. It's hard. It seems impossible that would happen, but if you think of all the technology from the big computers of the 60s to now we hold it in our hand, it's not that improbable that VR could just be a set of glasses that you put on. And so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I want to talk about our story about virtual reality church. And Clyde, do you see the
You're
presentation?
good.
Okay, good. Yeah, I want to talk about it, and I also want to talk about our journey. I'm going to move pretty quickly through it, just so you can get some history of what VR Church is all about. Virtual Reality Church is the first church to exist entirely in VR, and so that probably brings up a lot of questions for a lot of people. We had our first baptism this past Sunday, baptized 2 people, so that's bringing up even more questions. And so let me give you a quick history, and then I'm going to go into like 5 principles or 5 things we've learned, maybe it would be a good way to put it. But let's start with this. Let's see if I can advance the slide here. Just a quick clip, and I'm just going to talk over it. There's a little bit of audio. This is the church building that we meet in on each Sunday. Now, here's the thing about this. All the images, all the videos I'm going to show you, there's going to be a little bit of a disconnect. Because if you've never experienced virtual reality, you're kind of looking at this in a very limited form. It's 2-dimensional. It doesn't show the scale of what's happening in VR. So that's something to keep in mind. If you've never tried virtual reality, I encourage you to find someone. Sometimes there's VR arcades in major cities, because you have to experience it. And so one of my favorite movies is The Matrix, and this is one of the characters, Morpheus. And he has a great quote in the movie that really aligns to what our ministry struggle has been. And in the movie, Morpheus is talking to Keanu Reeves, and he says, "You can't explain what the Matrix is. You have to experience it for yourself." And that's we've been doing this for over a year, and really our struggle with connecting with churches for support, just forget financial support, just connecting to talk to people about it, is that it's hard to explain. We'll try to explain, we'll try to cast vision for it, but once we put people in the headsets, they immediately get it. So people that have been following us on social media, they go, and we meet up with them for the first time, they go, that your VR church sounds really strange. I don't understand it. Put them in the headset on. Once they take it off, they go, I get it now. There is an immediate light bulb experiencing VR and experiencing VR church. So one thing I want to say is this. It sounds kind of grandiose, but I think that virtual reality, augmented reality, is going to be one of the most disruptive technologies the church has faced. And someone might say that's kind of a grand statement. How, why would you say that? Well, consider this. Facebook bought Oculus, which is a VR headset, for $3-4 billion. And Mark Zuckerberg last fall said, we want 1 billion people in VR. So think about that for a second. You have largest and possibly most influential social media saying, we're spending billions and we want 1 billion people into VR. And they didn't give a time frame. So if that's like the vision and their goal, and that's on the mind of the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, something is coming out the other side of that. And so I think that it's really good that you guys are engaging on this. This is my family. We travel full-time in a travel trailer. We were pastors in Pennsylvania at a large church in Reading, Pennsylvania. And we felt, I'm just giving you the short version of it. In about 2016, there was something like stirring inside us. We couldn't define it. We couldn't figure it out. There was a little bit of turmoil inside us. And we came to the conclusion that we needed to leave. And we didn't know where we were going. So we left a comfortable setting, leading a church, salary, benefits, 9 to 5, that type of situation.
And not a few mouths to feed there. That's like,
yeah, you got a crew here, and we just knew that God wanted us to do something new, and we didn't know what new meant, and we were trying to like plan things and launch a logo, and and I remember I felt like God telling me, you just need to relax right now, and so we didn't know what new meant. We thought that meant planting physical churches across the U.S., and little did we know that VR was going to be part of that story. So we sold our stuff, we sold the home, excuse me, and we got into a 30-foot travel trailer, and we started to travel. Some people ask, why did you travel? Because we thought we were going to plant physical churches, and we didn't know where we were going to go. We wanted to be mobile. And at the same time, VR started to come out. So we started to, I'm just kind of a techie. We're a gaming family. I was like, oh, let's get it. Let's have fun with it. And then it just became really clear to us that our ministry is going to be virtual reality. And that's over a few months. I'm giving you, it sounds like we came to this instant conclusion about VR. Now it was kind of a thing that developed. Because what happened is I started playing, we got the Oculus Rift. My camera's still up, right, Clyde?
Yep.
I can show you guys some stuff. So I got this guy, the Oculus Rift. It's one of the first commercial VR headsets. And so the Oculus Rift is what we purchased. And we were playing games, we were watching movies. And then these social spaces started coming out. So if you look at this picture, this is one of the first social spaces in virtual reality, where you're in a space, you meet people, you talk to people, you're in the environments, you can watch videos, you can play games, you can go explore. And like I mentioned before, I just wanted to say it again, if you're looking at this in a 2D dimension, it's hard to describe what it's like to actually be in there. Because it looks a little cartoony, you see robots, you see humans, but when you're inside, it doesn't feel that way at all. I mean, you're just like looking around with this VR headset, just, experiencing the whole environment. And so these VR spaces started coming out, or social spaces. And I remember it was 2016, it was on a Friday, and AltSpace came out, and I got in there, I was like, oh, this is interesting, talking with people from around the world. I could see that I could create my own space. I could see that I could put like videos and slides on a screen. And, just my gifting is in church planning entrepreneurship. And I thought, we got to have a church service in VR. That was on a Friday. So I started preparing for, like, we're going to have church in 2 days. So this is the first, right here, this picture that you see was me getting the space set up. I had the Facebook feed on the left, and then I had a countdown timer that I was testing out. And this was a high rise, a skyscraper. And this is where we had church for the first time. I threw out a graphic on social media. And if some of you know Craig Rochelle there, at first we used video teaching. And so we had our first service June 2016 in VR. And here's another picture of one of our church services. And, only 5 people came to the church service. And maybe for like a physical church planner, that'd be like devastating. But for me, I was like so excited. I was like, man, this is great. 5 people showed up. And the first person that showed up was an atheist from Denmark. And he was like, man, I don't believe in God. I don't know, I just was really curious to see what's going on in here. And little did we know that many atheists would be coming to our church. And there are atheists that attend our church today. And so let me back up real quick. And so we immediately thought, video teaching doesn't work. It's not really engaging for our context for VR. I need to go right into live teaching. So 2 weeks into it, I'm teaching live in VR, and it was just an amazing experience. And I saw this on Facebook. Somebody I didn't know, they talked about how their son, he thought their son was on VR for games or social media, but he saw that he was in virtual reality. And you see kind of there at the end, he talks about AltSpace VR, that platform we used, shutting down, and it almost did shut down. Here's the kid in VR going to church, but it almost did shut down. And here's me as a preacher bot. This is one of my avatars. You see me holding my hand up. In VR, there's these touch controllers and there's sensors. So when I raise my hand, people see my hand raised. When I turn my head, they see all that movement. In virtual reality, I can control the finger, so I can point, I can give a thumbs up, I can do a wave, and people will see those things. And so this was this past August, and we thought, man, we're done with our church. We're gonna have to figure out another way to do it. AltSpace is done, but Microsoft bought AltSpace, so it stayed alive, and we were able to do our church. This picture here is the elders having a meeting for VR Church. I'm skipping over a few details about how I met the elders and all that, but just for sake of time, one of the gentlemen is from Australia. His name is Alistair. He worked on the first VR Bible app where you can read the Bible in virtual reality. The other guy is Brian. He's from Portland, and he was trying to create faith experiences kind of pre-recorded in VR for people that were homebound or unable, unable to leave the home. So that was his vision. And as a matter of fact, he did one for a quadriplegic in Los Angeles. And that quadriplegic, if you saw the logo at the beginning of the slide presentation, that quadriplegic designed that with his teeth. He put a stylus in his mouth and he drew that logo for us. But anyway, so we were all three doing individual things, and we said, let's get together to create a collaboration. And at that point, we were just kind of experimenting with VR Church. And here's the question we were asking. Is it viable to have church, a faith, small groups, community in virtual reality? That was the question. And we came to the conclusion quickly that yes, it's viable, and actually even more than we even imagined. So that was our one of our elder meetings. This is our elder, Brian. And then, we started having church services last May consistently. Before that, it was kind of experimental, maybe periodically, a couple times a month, maybe one time a month. And then last May, we got serious. We got the elder team together, put some light structure behind it, and we said, we're going to develop a community. We're going to develop a church experience. We're going to develop small groups. We're going to do all the functions of the church to build this community in VR. And so we started doing that, and Christians started showing up. So not just atheists and agnostics. Like the guy on the left here with the green trim avatar, his name is Chuck. He's one of our lead volunteers. He goes to, if you're familiar with North Point in Atlanta, but he also attends Virtual Reality Church, and he's a key volunteer, has a great ministry with people that are atheists in virtual reality. And there's a large population. As a matter of fact, when we first came into VR, there was a lot of hostility towards us, and so we kind of laid low. But over time, we build a rapport with that community. And so now we're a very highly respected event. And so people feel comfortable coming to VR, to our church, atheists, agnostics. It really is amazing. Haven't done an official survey, but I would say probably 50% are believers, and the other 50% are atheist, agnostics, curious, whatever. And so it's interesting. I've been in ministries for over 20 years in some form or fashion, mega churches, traditional, small, modern, whatever. And I've never experienced this type of environment with the type of the diversity of people that come to VR. And so here's a volunteer meeting, and we're getting ready for a service, and we're talking about different elements to have a great Sunday worship. Here's one of our Sundays, early Sunday services. Only a handful of people were showing up. And then, going back to conversations, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit, is community and conversations. The guy on the right, his name is Bob. He's an atheist from Great Britain, and he comes to our church. And we have a lot of amazing conversations with people, because atheists are still curious. Why don't people have faith? You know what I mean? And so they can't just walk up to a local church and ask questions, and it would kind of be awkward, or they would have difficulty doing that. But in the VR setting, they feel comfortable coming. This kid right here from Boston, 17 years old, I just met him. 30 seconds later, he's telling me about his depression, and he's telling me about his suicide, and we're talking suicidal thoughts, and we're talking through that. And I think that's the question that comes up. Some pastor friends really question and say, can you have community in VR? And a lot of them kind of doubt that. But for me, what we've experienced is absolutely. When we look at, I think what my pastor friends say is, just their avatars, how can people be authentic? And I'm like, it's the opposite. Because they're avatars, there's a sense of anonymity. And with that anonymity comes deep authenticity. So I'm having conversations that I've never really had in church before, because people feel comfortable sharing. They're not being fake. They're not changing their identity. Maybe there's some of that, but that's just human nature. That's not just a VR thing. And we're just talking with people. One time in the middle of a sermon, a girl from Britain said, I got bullied and I've been harmed. And, who could have done that in another, a physical church setting? So I think in VR, there's great opportunity. We've moved buildings here. This is our second building that we went into. And so it's kind of like an office building. And so you can see our church is starting to grow now. People from all over the world, all different types of backgrounds for Virtual Reality Church. Another atheist on the right talking with one of our elders and having a lot of great conversations there. I updated my avatar, started changing it a little bit. So I got a little red going on there. Tanabe is, let me keep a track on the time, make sure I don't go over. Tanabe is an individual from Japan. And a quick story about this is I was like, man, I'd really love to have my own church building, like an environment that's custom designed for us. I saw Tanabe had like a medieval church building that he built in VR. You can visit all these different worlds. And so I went into Tanabe's world and I saw this medieval thing. I was like, hey, Tanabe, I'd love to have this, but I'd love to brighten it up. It was like real dark and gothic. I was like, let's lighten it up. Let's put some lights in it. And there's a language barrier there. He's from Japan, and he was like, okay, send me an example. So I thought he meant colors and design. So I sent them this like crystal, like cathedral thing or some amphitheater type looking. I was like, hey, yeah, use these colors. 3 days later, Tanabe designed this amazing building in virtual reality. And this is the building that we currently are meeting in. And once again, man, it's hard to it's different looking at this picture. It's different putting on the VR headset and looking around and walking around. But that's an idea. I love this right here. If you see that guy in the tree just hanging out there, that's pretty classic. But we did a ribbon cutting with Tanabe, and you can see our church has started to grow even more throughout the year. We're having church service in VR. What's church like in virtual reality? Well, what's church like in the physical world? It's very much the same. We do music, preaching, prayer. I'll talk about sacraments in a little bit. That's brought up a little bit of controversy. And so it's not uncommon for people to gather, chat in VR and to hang out. You see that all the time. Throughout the week, we have community on Discord. And so I'm going to tab over. Maybe I'll do that. I don't want to mess up the slide right now, but I'll show you what our Discord channel looks like, because Sunday is our large gathering. And then throughout the week, we have lots of conversations, prayer, faith and science. The faith and science channels is all constant. People always chatting on there. Here's a picture of our church during Christmas event, Christmas celebration. My son designed the trees and the nativity, and so he's a 3D modeler. And so here we are. We're starting to grow. These are our volunteers. My robot turned into a white, just kind of evolving. You see people with hands. That's their actual hands that you can see them move with. The orange avatar on the right of the screen. To the left of my avatar, Anna Marie, she's a leader in Portland. Mike to the right of my avatar, to the left on your screen, I'm raising up to be a teaching pastor. I think he's got a teaching gift. And so here's a picture from Easter, Bismilk, right there. He is from Germany, comes to our church. It's like 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning from him every Sunday, but he still comes, wants to be a part of it. So sacraments, right? So communion, baptism, what's that like? Well, we had our first baptism service this past Sunday, baptized 2 people. I wish I could talk about it more. It was amazing. Here's the pool that we baptized people in, and I'll just play a quick video to show you what the environment looked like. Let's see if it loads up here. I don't hear any sound, but there should be some sound there. But you can see this is the pool that we use for baptisms, and it feels like you're in the water. It's hard to explain, but it feels like you're a part of what's going on there. Here's our Anna Marie testing out when we were testing out baptisms. Our elder team we kind of grew into that. We were slow to make the decision about baptism, and then we came to the conclusion that, yes, we feel comfortable doing that. And there's several reasons, if we want to talk about that later, why we came to that conclusion. Here's me testing out baptisms. And then, yeah, here's another shot of our church. We were going through the book of Luke, section by section, verse by verse, and the life of Jesus, and we were just taking time, and it's been really refreshing, particularly for people that have never heard the Jesus story, never
Mm.
read the Gospels. They find it very fascinating. So 5 things, 5 principles, some things I'd love for you guys to think about. I'm just going to go through them real quick, and then I'd love to take questions, or we can chat about whatever. Really, some people, pastor friends, are like, well, what do I do with VR? Do I launch a campus? Do I start a church? I was like, in the very least, just start experimenting. Get a headset. The Oculus Rift, when it first came out, was expensive. It was like $700, and then you needed a powerful computer to run it. But now this came out, the Oculus Go, for $200, and it's really, really good. And some people that might say, well, $200 is expensive, and maybe it is, but the cost of entry is getting lower and lower, and the technology is getting better and better. Where the Rift, I needed a computer, or maybe you needed a phone. This is no phone, no computer, no wires. You just put it on and you're ready to go. And so I just encourage them to experiment. I love the church. I think Bill Hybels says the local church is the hope of the world. But the one thing, and I say that to say this just critical aspect, is that I feel like the church is slow to innovation, slow to experiment, and we're afraid of things that are new. And so I just want to encourage people to experiment. Bobby Grinwald from Life Church said, we've outsourced innovation to Apple, to Disney, and all this innovative energy and talent in your church, we're not tapping into. So that's one thing I would encourage. The second thing is, really, VR isn't that different from a physical environment. It's still about building relationships. So there are some new things. There are some, paradigm shifts happening, but there are some age-old, timeless things that you can't replace, and that's relationships. And so it's still what matters. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. It's the same thing in VR. They want to know that you love them, that you care about them, that you're building relationships, and life is about relationships. Everything else is just details, right? So I think that's a very important thing. In VR, your audience is everyone. It is the atheist from Great Britain. It's the Muslim from the Middle East. It's the gay and lesbian community coming in. It's everybody is your audience, and this is something that I think about going in there into VR. And that's what I would encourage as churches get into it, is that now you're not just a pastor at your town or your city. Your ministry, and many of you that deal with online and online churches, you probably get this as well, is your audience is everyone. I heard this great quote, and it's that, I'll go over to here. It says, the information age is coming to a close, but the experience age is beginning. And I think that's interesting that AR and VR are going to usher in an era of the experience age. So church is going to be in VR and AR experiencing things. Yeah, learning, getting information. But let's say we talk about Moses and the Red Sea. We're actually going to walk through the Red Sea, and we're going to see the Red Sea part. We're going to experience the Bible like we've never had before. And then still some timeless things is making disciples. So yeah, VR is new. It's a new technology. It's disruptive. It's confusing. It puts a lot of questions in people's minds, but there's still things that are the same: relationships, disciple making, and all those elements. Yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and wrap it up. I don't want to go too long, but here's some places where you can find us. vrchurch.com is our website, and at facebook.com virtual reality church. And I think that's about it. I just wanted to show you real quick, Clyde, can you still see my desktop here?
Yes.
Okay, good. So one thing, just real quick, here's our Discord channel. It's like the old AOL chat room, but we have like a general chat where we chat about things going on through the week. We have a prayer channel where we pray for each other, and you can see our community here on the right side. We're developing small groups, so we're having conversations about small groups. Faith and science chat is constantly going on. People talking about faith and science. People that are atheists are part of this channel, and then people can see us plan for the weekend through service planning. But I encourage you, and I'll put this in the chat room, and I'll just wrap it up now, but I'll put up in the chat room. A Wired article came out that really talks about our story, and I'll put that in the link for you. We were on the Today Show a few weeks ago, and that was a great video, great piece, because it broke it down so simply. Sometimes when I try to explain things, I get a little too technical, and my wife's like, I don't think people are understanding what you're saying. And I also put this one from CNN, Beam, Beam's part of CNN, about is virtual reality the future of faith. And so, yeah, so that's it for me, Clyde.
Awesome, bro. That was phenomenal. If you can hit the stop screen share, I'm gonna. That's great, and I'm gonna go, for example, for me in the gallery view. Okay, first question is from Paul Konstansky. What's the minimum equipment that your church members need to have in order to attend?
Yeah, I would say it's a couple things. In a VR perspective, the Oculus Go is the easiest, simplest, and best way to get into VR. So I'll put the link in the chat, the Oculus Go. There is a 2D version, so you can get on your computer and attend in 2D. It's definitely a different experience, but you could do it. I think there is an Android app for it as well, so you could technically like attend via the Android app. But once again, VR and then the 2D experiences are very different. But at the very minimal, Android app, PC, 2D mode, and then my recommendation would be this Oculus Go for sure.
All right, and then I'll just say, so I consider myself sort of a catalyst innovator. I just got my first headset like 3 weeks ago. So I'm a little bit embarrassed, but I will say this. I think one of the entry barrier was the cost. And so with the Oculus Go for $200, I'm like, are you kidding me? So I got it. It syncs to your phone. So, I mean, all of a sudden, I mean, I had done the Google Cardboard before, but now it's like, it's a stunning, crazy, weird world. And so once you do that, you'll be amazed, and then take videos of people having their first experience. That's trippy. Anyway, next question, Irv, is the church vibe sort of, you don't have to believe to belong here? How does the vibe work itself out in your service and events?
Yes. So yeah, we definitely don't say you have to believe to belong. We're very, like when they come in to see the event, they'll see words that say, hey, you're invited. It doesn't matter if you believe in God or not. So we actually say that phrase quite a bit verbally, and then also in our materials. So I think that's created a expectancy that everyone's welcome, and we've seen that. We've seen everyone come in. And I overheard a conversation that I think it was a Jewish kid, and he's like, I'm Jewish, but I heard you guys, let anybody in the church. I think people think they're not allowed to go in church sometimes. Like from a couple of the conversations I have, if you're not a part of it, if you're not a member, you're not allowed to be, that I never known that, had that thought in my mind, but I think a lot of people do. So yeah, we definitely try to make sure we break that, thought barrier down.
All right, question from Dwayne, and he's quoting scripture. Yet a time is coming and has now come when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, and for they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. Questions: what does worship in spirit require? Is physical presence required? This is stretching my boundaries.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we have conversation after conversation with pastor friends and with Christians who who are curious. We worship from the literal sense of like music. With lyric videos, I have a worship leader who does live music. So in that sense, there's worshiping happening. And a lot of the atheists that come, or not a lot, but some who talk to me say they come because of the music. So there is a powerful worship connection there. I also think that God is not limited to any dimension. So he's in the physical dimension, he's in the spiritual, he's in dimensions that we might not even know. And obviously we see in digital world, Facebook, social media, God is has influence even in the digital world. But now we go into virtual reality. Absolutely. People have expressed to me that they've sensed God's presence in our faith environment, and which is interesting because we're all gathering in virtual reality. So I don't know if that answers the question, but those are my thoughts about that. Yeah.
All right. How many different, this is from Dwayne again, different VR headsets are available in an affordable price range?
So there's several. The top two main ones is the Oculus Rift. So if you're looking for like the best experience, the Rift here from Oculus, and by the way, Facebook now owns Oculus. So that's just a thing to think about. And then the competitor to this is the HTC Vive. So the Rift and the Vive. These guys, they run between $400 to $700. I think this one's $400. I think the Vive is $600 or $700. But you need a powerful computer. But with that, you get an amazing high resolution, I mean, immersive. I mean, things that you've seen. I don't know if you've seen YouTube videos. People like ripping their headsets off because whatever they're in was just so compelling. I've had friends like a T-Rex was walking up to them, take the headset off. That's how immersive it is. So if you're looking for the best experience, like I want the bells and whistle, get the Vive, get the Rift. You're going to need a fancy computer. If not, then I really recommend the Oculus Go. And you'll see, like if you're looking like at airport kiosks, you'll see like VR headsets, but those are just like knockoffs. They're just a few apps, you know what I mean? And it gives you the general idea. They're not like horrible, but they're not, like the Go or the Rift or the Vive. So,
And is the main thing resolution, the difference between the Go and the Rift?
Yeah, and graphical power. So the Rift or the Go actually looks really good. Good resolution. They have a new lens technology called Fresnel lens or something like that. So it wouldn't be able to handle high, like powerful games, but it still looks really good. Really, they did a really good job with the Go. And the Rift has been out a couple years, so the technology is a little bit older. But yeah, they're both pretty good experiences. So.
Okay, does getting any particular headset lock you in or out of any platforms or technologies, or do all brands work with everything?
So Vive and Rift, you can play. They're opening. At first, they were closed, but they got a lot of feedback from the community. People were upset because they couldn't play games from the Steam, is the like kind of the app store for Vive, and so now they are starting to talk to each other more. So yeah, if you get a Rift, you can play Vive games or Vive experience. If you get a Vive, you should be able to play Rift games. Yeah, you can do that. Now Oculus has its own ecosystem, so but it has over 1,000 apps and experiences. So it'd be pretty hard not to get what you want from this experience. So so there is a little bit of maybe some closed doors, but not a whole lot, other than this guy, which has its own app store.
Got it. And then this is from Paul. When someone is teaching or leading, do you use any different equipment, or could someone lead with the $199 model you recommend?
Yeah, they could do that. They wouldn't have the hand gestures, which is kind of an interactive connecting part of it. So people see me and make, statements and, point the finger or whatever. Other than the hand gestures, they could use the Go and just go up there and speak.
All right.
So there is, and with that being said, there is a hand controller for the Go. So this is how it's like the mouse.
Oh, right. Yeah. But you can't see that in the environment. That's
you can't see the hands raised. Yeah, this is for navigation. You'll see a little laser pointer that's like your mouse in VR, so.
All right. So once you have the Oculus headset, how do you go about finding community such as your church? Are there these websites you go to, or are there specific programs you have to purchase?
Yeah, so once you get the headset, we're in the AltSpace platform. So it's kind of like Facebook for VR. So when you go into AltSpace, you'll see our experience. You'll see Virtual Reality Church coming this Sunday, because there's like a calendar of events. So people mostly find us through the calendar of events, but often, sometimes too, it's through our Facebook, through our website, and then they go find AltSpace. And then once you find AltSpace, you'll find our experience.
All right. And does each member of the worship band need the Oculus Go headsets to lead worship?
So we don't do a band per se. We just have a leader with like a guitar. He does it, he'll strum his guitar and sing, or he'll do the keyboard. The internet speeds and the technology isn't there that we could sync audio very well. There'd definitely be a lag. So we wouldn't have multiple people singing. That wouldn't work yet, but maybe someday.
Any chance offering about your short filmmaking animation process, perhaps links instead? That was from Dan. Dan, clarify if I didn't make that clear.
Oh yeah, I have a couple of short films. Yeah, I can post that in the link, and there's a behind the scenes for that link. So I think maybe what he's talking about, if I'm not mistaken, is I created a short film using just the Oculus Rift, and it looks like a Hollywood animation. It's a short thing, but the visuals look amazing. So that's, when you think of VR, it's going to disrupt so many things, including filmmaking. So yeah, I could snag those links here in a little bit.
All right. Well, here's what I think I'm going to do, because that's the last. Is there any other burning question? Because we'll come back to some questions. I think we'll have some time, but I also want to do the meet and greet part. Anybody else have a quick burning question? Otherwise, maybe at the end, we'll save a little extra time. All right. So here's what we're going to do is do a little quick meet and greet, because I really want people to get to know one another. So I'm just going to go through my screen. and give everybody like 15 to 20 seconds. It's going to be lean and mean, but I want you to meet other people. Tell us your name, where you are, organization, and your area, why you're interested in this. So for example, I'll go. Clyde Tabor, Southern California, Visual Story Network. I think VR, I'm kind of a looky-loo, but I'm fascinated by what its possibilities are and how it can help the kingdom go to the ends of the earth. Okay, Adam, you're next. Unmute.
My name is Adam. I'm currently working with Clyde. I'm a student at Biola University, and I just really think this VR and AR thing is really cool, and just working with Clyde, I've learned so much about it and evangelizing. So yeah, that's it.
Amen. Okay, Stan, can you unmute? Just who you are, where you are, what org, and what's your area of interest?
I'm Stan Rowland. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm with the Collaborative for Neighborhood Transformation, which is a network of churches that work together to transform neighborhoods.
And what's your area of interest here? I mean, is this just like, wow, this is so strange. You're just trying to get your head around it?
Yeah, this is totally new to me.
All right, and I'm with you. Dwayne, you're next, if you can unmute.
Dwayne Troyer, Waxhaw, North Carolina, work with International Media Services as part of SIL. And it's my job to try to surf out on the edge of the technology wave and see what's there that we could share with our teams.
Awesome, love it. Jim Green, can you, let's see if you got your audio.
Can you hear me? Okay.
We can hear you, yes.
Yeah, Jim Green with the Jesus Film. Irv is on, and Irv and I have been talking about this for some time, and trying to be like sons of Issachar and know what's going on in our world and know what to do.
I love it. Paul Konstanski / Hardaway.
Work with Crew in the Making Your Life Count project, and we are continually trying to look into new platforms to onboard people to the materials. We're doing some things with chatbot, interactive emails, and this would seem like a natural progression of being able to do some stuff.
Okay, so Crew's big, Paul, and I don't know if you can speak for all of Crew, but like, what's Crew doing in the VR space? Is there anything that we should know about, like VR specific?
I would not be the one that would know all of that real specific at this point in time, because I'm focused on making your life count. But
all right, fair enough. Okay, Caleb, Scott, unmute if you would.
I'm Caleb. I'm currently living in Beirut, Lebanon. I'm 22. I'm interested in how VR will play a big role in ministry in the Middle East in the future.
Fascinating. Okay, Dan Burke, if you could unmute. Dan, go ahead, Dan. You're good.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, hey, my name's Dan. I'm from South Carolina, into animation and filmmaking, among other things. Love the idea of the platform, and specifically the anonymity factor of that's way cool. Atheists don't all going to church, that's thinking cool. But obviously the filmmaking side of it in terms of animation is like, woohoo, I got to check that out. I asked that question.
Yeah, so maybe quickly then, DJ, so you can make film in VR? I don't get that. Like, just give us 20 seconds on that.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, sorry. You like in 3D, you have to keyframe and do unbelievable amounts of work to do simple animations, especially in terms of character. And in the VR Oculus Rift world, you can actually do that in real time. So sorry, now go ahead, DJ.
Wow. It's just new to me.
If you don't mind me doing just a 30-second screen share, can I do that?
Let's come back to that one. Let's come back to that one because I want to hear everybody first. Yeah. So Irv, I know you got to go. Irvis, give us a shout out.
Yeah, Irv from Jesus Film, working with Jim Green, as he said, in animation, and we're doing some adaptations based on Jesus Film dialogue. But because we have 3D models and getting into the Unreal Engine, it's very easy to go from there to Oculus Rift and preview this stuff. So how do you tell stories in VR from the life of Jesus where the story waits for you and responds to you? So we're looking at that kind of stuff. And so I'd love to talk to Dan or whoever, some of the fellow people in that whole animation area. So very cool. Thanks.
Okay, most of you are old friends. Irv's one of you, and Irv's just the guy who thinks way out front, leans in. I love it. Now, David Hurtado, bro, it's great to see you. Give us a shout out.
It's good to see you too, and Jim and Irv and everyone else, Paul. I'm in Philadelphia, at Esperanza College of Eastern University, and we've created a media major, and we're hoping to have a class that helps the students go into virtual reality.
Okay, so then that segues to Tom Custer, another professor. Tom, give us a shout out. Oh, Tom, are you
Play
there?
tennis or do whatever. They love to do that stuff and go to school.
Okay.
We are looking at the feasibility of starting our first master's program.
Okay, sorry, I tried to unmute Tom. There you go. So Tom was ready. Dan, give us a shout out. Dan Wathan, are you there? I just unmuted you. Oh,
Dan, thank you. Dan Wathan from Los Angeles, just up the highway from you, with Cook Pictures, and we work with tons of churches, nonprofits across the United States. So this is really interesting to me to see what might be on the horizon.
Yeah, have you guys dabbled in anything with this yet?
We haven't had any clients that have wanted to get into it yet, but I know it's definitely probably coming.
And were you or Phil at the ORU thing, or you just did something in like okay, give us a takeaway. What was your 2 takeaways?
Yeah, that was actually the first time they had created a classroom area that uses virtual reality and augmented reality. So it was the first time I got to put the glasses on and actually walk into it was a jet engine that they were teaching students how to repair. And then there was a medical scenario set up where I could go in and touch a heart, but it was in 3D space and
so the educational side of this is huge, clearly.
Yeah,
and
that was really cool.
Yeah. Okay, Tom Kazoyan.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Tom Kazoyan, friend of VSN and MMU and things like that. And I'm a filmmaker and a screenwriter and a media strategist. So I don't know, I was in Second Life 15 years ago when it started and those kinds of things. So, I have my theological wrestling I do with real versus virtual real. And those are things that I still try to figure out. And DJ, I appreciate you guys are trying to wrestle through those things. I think I wonder about, our slide into complete abstraction and Gnosticism versus real life. And I think those are real important questions for us to ask when we get into this space. I think that the possibilities for engagement with people are really huge, and, trying to see kind of where are there boundaries or not, all those kinds of things.
Okay, that's Tom's inner Anglican coming out, but I respect it. I totally respect it. So Steve Bauman, give us a shout out.
Hi, I'm Steve, Scripture Engagement Coordinator for SIL Wycliffe. Always looking for new ways to help hundreds of translators in difficult, limited access countries get the word out. Thanks.
And here's what's likely to happen to you, DJ. If you hang around Steve long enough, he'll have you teaching a full week curriculum in Thailand before you know it.
I bet the email's already written.
I'm just giving you a heads up, DJ. It's probably going to happen. Arlen, give us a shout out.
Hey, my name is Arlen Isaac. I work with Light in Action. Southeast Arizona right now, but we're based in Brazil. I'm kind of the same, I think, a lot of people, just curious, know what's coming, ideas, get my mind going. And we're having a conference this year in Brazil. We really want to focus on how can we be equipping and how can the church be relevant and engaging in technologies, especially reaching out with the gospel. So,
amen and amen. Awesome. Andrew.
Greetings from North Carolina, Transworld Radio Galactic Headquarters. Pleased to be here representing TWR Motion. And, we're thinking beyond 2D film, because what we're doing on smartphones right now is probably going to translate quickly into VR as VR gets sorted out. And so probably when the bar gets dropped below the Oculus Go to virtual church on any Android or Apple device, and we start to be having people in the third world, the unreached people groups, then that's where we're going to be jumping in on this light. But it's nice to watch that bar come down to the non-techie, less wealthy audience.
All right, now Amos, can you hear us? Because I don't think your audio is dialed in. So shout out Amos if you can. Who is iPhone? I don't know who iPhone is. Can you say hi? Okay, Cal. Okay, iPhone, go.
This is Roy Moran from Kansas City.
All right, Roy, tell us about your interests.
I'm in a local church here in Kansas City, work with some global ministries. We've been focusing on trying to use social media to reach people, gather them into groups, and engage them in reading the Bible and discovering what God has to say about life. Mm-hmm. So
Thank you for joining us, Cal Conkey.
Hi, I'm Calvin Conkey, and I'm living in Thailand. And my wife and I are the international coordinators for Create International film production ministry, focused on creating gospel films and animations for unreached peoples. So we're also partners with Clyde in the 2020 vision and lots of other cool things. Some of our folks have been dabbling a little bit and experimenting with 3D movie production and all the kind of cool creative things that you can do with that, even allowing people to choose what's going to happen next in the film for them. So interesting things like that. VR, we're looking at that, and I'm sort of with some of the others where I'm just keeping an eye out for how that is going to be able to be relevant to what we do with unreached peoples.
Amen.
I think AR I'm particularly interested in. I actually see many more practical uses for AR, and especially into the parts of the world that we work in. And so just excited to see all this. I too was involved with Second Life and seeing that a long time ago, and always seen potentials for that to reach out to people.
That's funny because the Calebs and the Adams of the world in our meeting here have no idea what that would probably be, just because it's so old already. Anyway, I think Amos is still offline. Peter, is that Peter Hyam? Is that you, Peter? Okay, you're not unmuting, so I'm going to...
Yep,
there you go.
Yeah, it's Peter from New Zealand, living in Finland, moving to Africa, West Africa. And just yesterday, I had a discussion with a Finnish pastor about the day when a congregation would be completely online. So now I have some more information to add to the discussion.
All right. And did I skip anyone? I think I got everyone. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually do my announcements now, and then we can do Q&A. And if you have to leave at any time. But DJ, can you stay a few minutes after? Do you have a few extra minutes? That's okay. Great. I see you're muted, but I
got some time.
I saw head nod. So we'll just want to make sure we can try to address the question. So let me officially end with this. So again, if you want to tweet #MissionAR/VR. That's also, if you go to Facebook, our closed group, and we'd love for you, if you're not in that closed group, to get into that closed group. So Mission ARVR. Not sure if there's a slash in the Facebook group. Adam, is there? I can't remember. In any event, maybe you can put the link in the chat to the Facebook group, Adam. That would be helpful. And then here, I'll put the other thing in the chat, which will be actually, and I put the wrong thing up in the beginning, where this executive summary will be found here by the end of the day, if not sooner. And it is now in the chat. So it's visualstory.org/DJ Soto, SOTO. And that's where you see the recording, send your friends to it, and we'll put your notes and your contact information if that's okay. So let's go back to the thing you were about to share, DJ, and we'll just pick it up from here. And if you all have to check out, just you leave the screen, that's fine. We get it. You have other obligations, but we'll keep going here for at least another 5 or 10 minutes. So DJ, back to you.
Yeah, and just real quick, I won't take too long on this. They're asking about VR. This is just was crazy. My brain couldn't handle this when a guy demonstrated creating films in virtual reality. So I'll do a quick screen share. This is a short film that I made, and this is the behind the scenes of it. So I'm going to pause it. You guys see the robot there?
Yeah.
So that's me doing that movement in VR. The fist and looking at the screen. It looks like a creepy robot. He's like a villain in the movie that we created. Those are my hands kind of like going out. And then here's me showing that. It's capturing me in real time. There's no rendering. So you think of animation, you think of filmmaking. Here's a virtual camera. I think that this is playing the trailer right now. So this is me. Think about this for a second. This is me inside virtual reality in a virtual set with the virtual camera capturing all these different elements. So
real time. That's crazy.
Yeah, the short film I made. I didn't have to animate it. I didn't have to render it. All I did was capture the movements, use some screen capture software, and you can see as I turn my hands, look how responsive everything is. So the future of filmmaking has this incredible, potential. and I'll just skip a little bit just for time. But
wow.
yeah, so this guy named Muro created this application, and I was the first one to make a short film on it. And so that's Muro there on the right. Think of being on a Hollywood set, but you are now.
That's so trippy.
You know what I mean? You're in there filming what you need to film. And so I kind of gave a demonstration of the virtual camera that was used in getting scenes for the short film. So anyways,
whoa.
Yeah, that's kind of it's just the precursor of things to come. It's incredible for filmmaking, animation, just at a consumer level. I filmed this whole thing at my desk here, and it looks amazing. So it's just the first of.
Can you put that? What was that? Whatever the link was for that YouTube channel, whoever that guy was. Can you put that in the chat?
Yeah, I put it up there at 8:44 a.m. You'll see the couple.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, I see that. There it is. Okay, and then here's one from Paul. Is the avatar look what people want, or is that part of the early technology limitations? Is the direction of VR such that down the road that participants would look a bit more human, or is the avatar approach more of what makes people more comfortable with the technology?
Yeah, I think it's just an early iteration of the technology. Altspace's philosophy is mobile first, or like the Go. It can't process like the Rift can, so they wanted the avatars to render well on this. With that being said, I saw some avatars in Altspace that looked not realistic, but they started to get more photorealistic human faces. They were beta avatars, people testing them out. And so it's only a matter of time before it becomes a photorealistic thing. There's one called Sansar. It's in public beta. It's like Altspace, but Sansar is only for the high end. And when you go into Sansar, it is photorealistic. It is the skin tones, the color tones. The Go wouldn't be able to render that experience, but Sansar, and I'll put the link in there, you can check that out as well. That's going to be an interesting platform to keep an eye on, but it's not in public release yet.
Okay, awesome. And then this was from DJ. The avatars, okay, there have been some beta avatars. Okay, I think you just said all that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No
Are you able to use PowerPoint type graphics while you teach? Is that hard to coordinate?
No, it's easy. I put the link on the screen. It's the Google Slides, and I just get the link, pop it in, and it comes right up here on the screen. So
you mean your screen in your VR church?
Yeah. So that's how we do lyric videos and sermon PowerPoints. It's all just plugging it in. So
have you done anything with AR?
I have it. My son, he's 15. He took an AR class in LA, and he's developing stuff in augmented reality. I said, I'm not there yet, but you need to be my forerunner to learn all that. So when AR Church comes into existence, however that looks, I have no idea. I want you to be ready for me, because AR, I forgot who mentioned it. Someone said AR is going to be more.
Cal said, yeah.
Yeah, so that's true. I think I read where VR is going to be a multi-billion-dollar thing, but they said AR is going to be even beyond that. AR is definitely harder to develop for, but once they figure that out, that's probably going to be more of you'll see that in more practice, because it's overlaying things in the world for you.
On the screens you already have, whatever they are, your glasses, your phone, whatever.
Screw up your calendar, swipe it.
Right.
So your phone, you don't have to pull it out of your pocket. You just, hit this and it comes up and do your thing. And so AR is going to be huge for sure.
Okay. There's the Facebook group. Poor Amos. Do you have to create the virtual set for your short film? Did you have to create the virtual set for your short film?
No, so I did not, because the app that it came in is called Make It Film. So he had the virtual sets from Unity and all those assets, and I think he created his own too. So you can, but also too in his his beta demo, I had sets that I could go into myself. But you could build them, but if you're not technical, like if I'm not a modeler or a animator, so to speak, so. I didn't have to build those sets. And that's interesting. Like if you look at that short film, I have zero animating, zero, modeling experience, but I still created an animated short film. So.
Okay. And so this was a good question. Thank you, Caleb. What's the difference between AR and VR? DJ, I forgot to say that.
Yeah. So VR is going to be a closed experience. It's just you inside this world. AR is going to be when you put the glasses on, it's see-through. So just like this, I can see through these glasses, and then the computer is going to overlay things into the world. So like one of the apps my son is developing is he connected with somebody from like some Hollywood studio or something. And so you go on a location and you're like, I wonder what a car would look like here. You'd put your glasses on and you'd select a car and you'd put it on there. So you see the real world, but then a car is laying right there in the middle of the field or wherever you're at. So AR kind of is augmented reality. It lays over that. I could be wrong about this. I'll have to double check. I think Apple is developing a hybrid, which sounds super interesting. VR and AR. I'll have to check about that one. I thought I saw that through the news feeds there, but yeah, that'd be interesting when you could close it and open it up and it's an AR experience. So.
Okay, so maybe just for you, DJ, comment on what Tom was saying earlier about, I don't know, that physical presence thing. I mean, you addressed it earlier. Or, I don't know. Do you have a response? Tom had his inner Anglican going out there. I don't know. Do you have any other additional thoughts to that?
Yeah. So multiple. Here's a random, not in any particular order. I mean, I do think the physical experience is the best. I have a good friend, used to go to breakfast and board games, and it wouldn't be the same in virtual reality. Although I did play board games in virtual reality the other day, and it was really cool. With a friend, we were playing chess and checkers, and it was crazy. And he was there in an avatar. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good questions to always be asking. I don't think I have a good answer for other than I like his statement about we should be asking these questions and evaluating it. But with that being said, I also feel like we do have a genuine community and relationships in VR. People are like Anna Maria, the gal I mentioned in the slide presentation. She has friends she meets up with every night in VR, and they go play Frisbee golf. They go climb an Aztec mountain. They do all these things. So yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting where things go.
It does raise questions.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Now, do most people know what, I mean, like in your church, for example, I mean, other than your avatar, is there any way for them to see what you really look like? I mean, do you really know what anybody else looks like? Or are you limited exclusively to the avatar?
Yeah. The only way I know what people look like is if we connect on Facebook. So there's a handful of people. In Discord, sometimes people put their profile. But there's many people that I don't actually know what they actually look like.
So you'd run into them and you'd never know it.
Yeah.
Unless they were dressed up as their avatar.
Right. And I just met the elder of my church, one of the elders, his name is Brian. I just met him like a month ago for the first time. And he's been an elder for my church for over a year.
Met him physically.
Physically, face to face.
Yes.
He's been an elder for over a year. And we met for the first time just recently.
And that is my world, DJ, because I live more in this 2D world of virtual, my virtual spaces, like through this kind of stuff. And I have tons of relationships. And many times that I finally go to a conference, I'm like, oh, I've known you for 5 years, but we're actually now meeting face to face and hugging and embracing for the first time physically. Yeah. And but it's not that big a deal. It's cool, but it's like, oh, I know you. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. You feel like you know the person.
Yeah. It's not like.
What's interesting is people tend to keep their avatars like with the way they look, so you'll recognize people from afar off. Just like if we knew each other, in the physical world, and I say, oh, there Clyde's coming down, it's the same thing. Oh, there's Anna Marie, and oh, there's Mike, and you just start, even though they're not photorealistic avatars, you start to recognize people. So it's weird. It's hard to explain unless you get in there.
Okay, and does your whole family attend church with you?
Yes, since the Ghost came out, we went a long time with just me on the riff leading the church. And then my son got a headset, and so it was just.
He has the Go. Then your family has the Go.
Yeah, so now we do. So now everyone has a Go, and everyone comes to church together. The kids love it. The first time they got in there, they climbed the church roof.
You can climb the church.
Yeah, they were jumping off the church roof, and that's one thing to mention. I probably that's a whole element I forget. I'll hit on it just 30 seconds. Is that we have to deal with trolls. That's what's the negative side. Sometimes trolls come in. I had a guy coming in and saying, bless you in the name of Satan. He was like walking around doing that. People were being explicit. People would jump off the roof and behind me. A guy came up to my face right in the middle of a sermon and was angry, like he just teleported in. He goes, where do you have the right to say this? So there's all these things that kind of happen. And in VR, like in the physical world, that would be like shocking. And oh my gosh, in VR, it's kind of like, oh, okay, there's a troll happening here. Usually they calm down when they see we don't react. We're just like, what are you doing? But we do have the ability, like when you point your cursor at someone, a thing pops up over their head to mute, so we can make them be quiet, or we actually can boot them.
Yeah, you can boot them. I'm assuming you have that ability.
I'm sure maybe some pastors would love to in the physical world. You're out of here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. And then Dan says, there's an animating system for Unity iClone 7, which uses a variety of off-the-shelf models, which is remarkably affordable for higher production values. Okay.
That's awesome.
And then, okay, what headset do you use, DJ? So you use the Rift, yes?
Yeah, I use the Oculus Rift, and I love this one. You'll have your the debates, Mac, PC, which one's better, Coke, Pepsi. So it's the Vive and the Rift have their own little argument. I like the Rift the best. For me personally, it's more comfortable. The touch controllers for the Rift are definitely more intuitive than the Vive, and I think most people in that argumentative world agree with that. And I can travel with the Rift. With the Vive, you have to set up base stations on the wall. With that being said, what's the advantage of a base station? You can actually move around.
What does that mean, a base station?
So it's like sensors for the Vive that track your position. So the pro side of that is if you have a big enough space, which I don't in my travel trailer here, but if you had a big enough space, you could actually do a considerable amount of traveling in the virtual world just by walking.
Whoa.
You can do that with the Rift, just a little bit more limited. So VR is not just a standing or sitting experience. For these high-end ones, you can actually there's something 3 feet away. Let me go walk over to it. With the Go, it's not a travel thing. You're definitely stationary. So a lot of the experiences are limited.
But my experience is you don't want to move.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the only thing is
true.
I have my office chair and I can swivel, which is kind of cool but at least I know, okay, if I got space around me, I'm not going to hurt myself.
Yeah.
Because you can easily get lost in these worlds. Yeah. Is VR really data hungry? A lot of people in parts of the world would not have bandwidth enough to attend VR service, I would expect.
It is and it isn't. So the things that are optimized for the Go aren't that data driven, but yes, for the Oculus Rift and for the HTC Vive, those are more higher end. So if you're playing multiplayer games on the higher end headsets, yeah, you're definitely going to have definitely bandwidth issues there if you had limited internet. But these guys work pretty good. And Altspace is trying. They're still working on their platform, but they're trying to optimize it for a mobile experience.
All right, team. Well, we are 10 minutes over. So that was our 10-minute bonus round. Thank you, DJ, for all of it, especially the 10-minute bonus. Okay, here's one more. Okay, one more or two more. Okay. Are you publishing your church services yet? If so, how? A good question.
So we have recorded a few, and we haven't put it on YouTube or whatever because two things. One, it's such a different thing to look at it in 2D. It looks cheesy, but we can get past that. We could post it. The other thing too is it's like I said, there's a lot of distractions, trolls. It'd be hard to we could probably edit it down. And not that there's a ton of trolls that come in. We just need to think through how we'd want to present our church service in a 2D environment because it is quite different. But yeah, we are working on that though.
And DJ, I think David's already there. But so DJ, is it okay if we put your email in that summary post, or can you put it in the chat thing here?
Yeah.
No and then last one, do people pick where they sit when they first arrive at church? Do people have a favorite pew like at a physical church? That's a great question.
Yeah, that's true. That's what happens. It's funny. I didn't think about that. I know people that sit to my right in the front row. There's people that sit to the left and people that sit. They find it's funny. Human nature.
We are creatures of habit. We are.
I never thought about that, but yeah, they find their spot. Yeah, it's interesting. So.
All right, well, I'm going to close this. Lord, we worship you. We do want your kingdom to come. And I do agree with DJ that you are God of time and space and history and all dimensions, ones we may not know about. And so, Lord, I just pray that your kingdom would come in this virtual world, and so that people like the Danish atheist or whoever could truly have a life-giving encounter with you, Lord Jesus, and your people and your kingdom. So we pray to that end in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Amen. All right, we'll say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to hit the stop record button. And then again, you've got, I think, the information. Email if you have any questions, but we'll get this post created by the end of the day. If you wouldn't mind, DJ, just staying on for a few extra seconds while we do